In a thrilling turn of events, Elvis Presley was summoned to perform on a TV variety show hosted by the enigmatic Milton Berle. This episode was broadcasted not only for general audiences but also exclusively for the crew of the USS Hancock, docked in San Diego, California. The audience eagerly anticipated Elvis's renditions of Shake, Rattle and Roll, Heartbreak Hotel, and Blue Suede Shoes. Little did they know the intriguing tale that lay behind these performances. As the spotlight fell upon Elvis, his voice filled the air with the familiar tunes. But there was more to this performance than met the eye. It had been only days since a devastating accident left Carl Perkins, the original owner of Blue Suede Shoes, struggling to recover. In an unspoken tribute, Elvis chose to perform this song closer to Perkins' arrangement, a poignant moment that added depth to his performance. Milton Berle, never one to shy away from humor, played a comedic skit featuring Melvin, the twin brother who supposedly taught Elvis everything he knew. While tasteless in retrospect, this segment may have been written without knowledge of Jesse Garon, Elvis's own twin who was stillborn. In a twist of fate, Carl Perkins would take years to recover from his accident, eventually falling into disillusionment and heavy drinking. It wasn't until the Beatles popularized his songs that he finally found some measure of success again. Meanwhile, Elvis continued to dazzle audiences with his performances. On April 14th, he returned to the RCA studios in Nashville to record a new hit, I Want You, I Need You, I Love You. This soulful ballad showcased a huskier side of Elvis's voice and marked a turning point in his career. Soon after, Elvis embarked on a month-long residency at the New Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas, a decision that would prove to be both risky and intriguing. Colonel Parker, always looking for ways to maximize profits, hoped that establishing Elvis's presence in Vegas would allow him extended periods of leisure time. However, this plan backfired as Las Vegas, despite its expanding cityscape, was not yet the destination for young fans like Elvis's own. To make matters more challenging, only those over 21 were allowed entry into casinos, making it difficult for his young fan base to see him perform live. Despite these obstacles, Elvis gave it his all, performing night after night to mostly middle-aged and elderly audiences. Little did he know that these early struggles in Las Vegas would inform his triumphant return years later. During this time, Elvis crossed paths with a myriad of colorful characters, from comedians like Shecky Greene to fellow musicians such as Freddie Bell and the Bell Boys. These encounters added to the intrigue of Elvis's journey through the entertainment world. Through all the ups and downs, Elvis's talent and determination shone brightly, even in the face of adversity. As he continued to make history with hits like I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, the future looked promising for this enigmatic icon of rock and roll. But little did everyone know that Elvis was on the verge of an even greater adventure, one that would take him from the stages of Las Vegas to the big screen in Hollywood. The fascinating story of Elvis Presley's rise to fame and his impact on the music industry was only just beginning. In the midst of Elvis Presley's whirlwind tour, an unexpected event transpired that would further ignite the fire surrounding his performances. Amidst the sensational success of being #1 on 6 different charts and selling millions with his album, Elvis found inspiration in Freddie Bell's comic rendition of A Hound Dog. Taking note of Bell's stage choreography, Elvis incorporated it into his own act, adding a unique twist that left audiences spellbound. However, not all reactions to the king of rock and roll's performances were positive. The arts editor of La Crosse Register, a small Wisconsin town, was incensed by Elvis's appearance and penned an inflammatory article suggesting that the singer posed a definite danger to the security of the United States. Claiming his shows were filled with sexual self-gratification and comparing Elvis's actions to those of a sexual pervert, this writer left no stone unturned in his critique. This controversy only served to heighten interest in Elvis Presley, and on June 5th, he gave what would be known as the most controversial performance of his career on The Milton Berle Show. With his signature moves and an electrifying rendition of I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, and an unreleased version of Hound Dog, Elvis sent shockwaves through the audience and across the nation. As the debate over rock and roll's influence on society continued to rage, critics accused Elvis of encouraging juvenile delinquency and being a moral outrage. Church leaders, politicians, and concerned parents all demanded he be banned from performing. In response, One journalist from Journal American wrote a scathing review, calling Elvis's performance the weirdest suggestive animation short of an Aborigines ma. Despite the relentless criticism, Elvis Presley continued to captivate audiences with his unique blend of talent and charisma. The controversy surrounding him only served to fuel his rise to fame and cement his status as a cultural icon. As fans eagerly awaited his next move, one thing was certain: Elvis Presley's enigmatic presence would continue to intrigue and inspire debate for years to come. In the shadowy world of rock and roll during the 1950s, Colonel Parker masterfully controlled Elvis Presley's career moves with a mysterious air. Analyzing the booking schedule, it's bewildering that Elvis hardly graced the stage in New York City while consistently performing in smaller cities across the United States. Despite the evident financial opportunities in the Big Apple, one can only speculate about Parker's intentions and motives behind these choices. Elvis, ever the charismatic performer, drew amazement from fellow musicians such as Jon Stewart of the Kingston Trio, who was left stunned after witnessing a powerful performance by Elvis in Los Angeles. The energy radiating from the stage, coupled with his strong voice and infectious joy, had an undeniable impact on those fortunate enough to attend his concerts. Meanwhile, Bill Haley, a veteran musician of the rock and roll scene, recognized the impending doom for his own success as he prophetically warned Red Robinson about Elvis's rising stardom. The Hillbilly Cat, as Elvis was often dubbed, would soon overshadow Bill Haley's reign, leaving him feeling outdated. Barney Kessel, a seasoned jazz guitarist who later worked on rock records including some of Elvis's own, offered an intriguing perspective on the King's popularity. He acknowledged that Elvis's success was rooted in his ability to emulate the style and movements of black artists while also exuding raw sex appeal through his good looks and masculinity. However, Kessel believed that much of what made Elvis great was not entirely original, leading to a flood of imitators over the years. Gladys Presley, Elvis's mother, primarily expressed concern about the unruly behavior of fans at her son's concerts rather than his suggestive dance moves. She once cautioned Elvis that such antics would continue regardless of whether she attended his performances or not, a warning he seemed to take in stride. Despite the controversy surrounding Elvis and his dancing, the media often found creative ways to poke fun at him, as evidenced by Bill Buchanan and Richard Goodman's hit single The Flying Saucer, which parodied Elvis's quirky responses to hypothetical situations. These satirical efforts did not sit well with Colonel Parker, who frowned upon the unlicensed use of his client's music for comic relief. As Elvis prepared for a highly anticipated performance in Memphis on Independence Day, he made an appearance on Wink Martindale's Top 10 Dance Party, where he was overshadowed by the boisterous Dewey Phillips. The future held great opportunities for Elvis, including a landmark television appearance on The Steve Allen Show from New York's Hudson Theater. Despite concerns about potential controversy, Elvis toned down his performance, singing to a basset hound dressed in a top hat and bow tie as part of a calculated effort to avoid any backlash. This decision proved successful, garnering exceptional ratings for the show and solidifying Elvis's growing fame. Yet, for some, this sanitized version of the rock and roll star felt like a pale imitation of the original, a theme that continues to resonate in modern music as artists continue to emulate the styles of their predecessors. Even Gladys Presley, despite her concerns about fan behavior, appeared content with her son's meteoric rise to stardom and the controversial dance moves that defined his legend. Following an appearance on The Steve Allen Show, a tired but energetic Elvis Presley retreated to the Warwick Hotel for a split-screen telephone interview with Hy Gardner for WRC-TV. His sleep pattern was understandably affected by his late-night television schedule, leaving him with only 5 hours of rest each night. The following day, Elvis arrived at RCA for what turned out to be a pivotal recording session. Alongside his band, the Jordanaires and pianist Shorty Long, they produced 3 starkly different tracks: Don't Be Cruel, Any Way You Want Me, and Hound Dog. Alfred Wertheimer, a renowned photographer, captured these historic moments on film, providing us with iconic images of Elvis in the midst of his craft. Despite being produced by Steve Scholz, Elvis took charge, knowing what he wanted from the recording process. Drawing inspiration from Sam Phillips at Sun Records, Elvis sought a clearer sound for his voice, moving away from the rockabilly echo that had previously characterized his music. Hound Dog, originally a sketch, was given new life as Elvis chose to take it seriously. The resulting recording is powerful and unapologetic, with the Jordanaires adding hand claps to the mix. However, there were some technical challenges. Due to limitations in the recording equipment, certain elements of the song, such as the turnarounds and ahs, did not come out quite right. RCA's session approach was distinctly different from that of Sun Records. While Sam Phillips and his team would continue working until they captured the desired sound, major studios like RCA operated within strict time constraints. This meant that sessions were booked in 3-hour slots, forcing Elvis to carry on with Hound Dog, even after reaching what might have been considered a satisfactory point. The recording process for Don't Be Cruel, written by Otis Blackwell in 1955, was unique due to the Jordanaires' contributions. Their wordless vocals interwoven with Elvis's performance elevated the song to new heights. For his part, Elvis delivered an impassioned rendition that captivated listeners. In a deal brokered by Colonel Parker, Otis Blackwell was forced to publish Don't Be Cruel under Hill and Range, but he accepted in order to ensure the song reached its rightful audience, Elvis Presley. Any Way You Want Me, penned by Aaron Schroeder with Cliff Owens under his pseudonym Clyde Otis, was a new addition to Elvis's repertoire. The Jordanaires were impressed by Elvis's performance on this ballad, noting the depth and range of his voice. Scotty Moore's guitar solos added an extra layer of flavor to the track. As day turned into night, rock and roll was thriving in Memphis. In Nashville, the Johnny Burnett Rock and Roll Trio recorded their classic hit, The Train Kept A-Rollin'. The music scene was ablaze with creativity and innovation, thanks in large part to visionaries like Elvis Presley who dared to challenge the status quo. Say Burnett's bandmates bore a striking resemblance to the boxers they emulated, and like many brother acts, internal conflicts were rife. Dorsey was on the verge of departing, disgruntled over Johnny being lauded as the frontman. Colonel Parker, ever the ambitious visionary, observed Frank Sinatra's dual success in films and records. Colonel Parker, ever the ambitious visionary, observed Frank Sinatra's dual success in films and records and envisioned Elvis Presley following in his footsteps. The two biggest teen idols of their time, Marlon Brando and James Dean, lacked singing abilities, leaving the door open for a charismatic singer like Presley to swoop in. Hal Wallace, a seasoned film producer known for his work on classics such as Casablanca, was approached by Parker to discuss potential film projects for Elvis. Though initially hesitant and unimpressed by the rock and roll sensation's acting abilities, Wallace recognized Presley's immense popularity and decided it would be prudent to create a vehicle that could capitalize on his fame. Upon meeting at Paramount Studios, Elvis was asked to read from an upcoming script, The Rainmaker, where he would portray the character of Jimmy Curry. However, since Burt Lancaster and Katharine Hepburn had already been cast in the starring roles, Wallace realized that a supporting role would not showcase Presley's full potential. He decided to produce a film specifically tailored for Elvis instead. After much negotiation and haggling over fees, a contract was signed for 3 films with Paramount Pictures. Elvis's debut in the film industry began with Loving You, produced in 1957. But before that, Wallace arranged for him to appear in a Western at 20th Century Fox, titled The Reno Brothers. Initially a supporting role, this movie ended up being retitled Love Me Tender as Elvis's presence became increasingly central to the plot. Filming commenced on August 22nd, and in his first leading role, Elvis played Clint Reno, a man who marries his deceased brother's fiancée, only for his brother to return alive and seek forgiveness. The film featured widescreen cinemascope but was predominantly a B-feature production. Despite its flaws, the movie introduced Presley's talent to a wider audience, marking the beginning of his illustrious film career. In a thrilling plot twist, a highly advanced tripwire was set up to entrap unsuspecting individuals in a dangerous game of cat and mouse. This ingenious mechanism, so realistic that even the legendary Elvis Presley fell victim to it, unknowingly ignited an intense gunfight. Tragically, Elvis met his demise in this first film, causing widespread shock among fans who were left questioning the motivations behind such a daring turn of events. The story takes a twist as we explore why Elvis was so harsh towards a girl and why she favored Richard Egan over him. Why in the life of an icon in his debut film? These questions loom over the heads of perplexed fans who long for more conventional storylines. However, the ending does offer some solace as Elvis is seen superimposed on the final credits, singing Love Me Tender. This unexpected finale divided opinions. Some found it charming, while others dismissed it as an appeal to the bizarre and macabre. The monthly film bulletin of the British Film Institute expressed their disapproval, stating that only connoisseurs of the grotesque would appreciate such an ending. Meanwhile, The Times criticized Elvis's acting abilities, comparing his singing style to a species of St. Vitus's dance and breathlessness natural to the end of a cross-country race. Despite these harsh reviews, the film's soundtrack garnered attention due to its unique blend of instrumentation, including accordion and banjo. The composition Love Me Tender, which caused quite a stir, had a complicated history. The melody was originally written by George Poulton and later given new lyrics by Ken Darby for this film. Due to ownership disputes and credit controversies, the song's authorship became convoluted. Even Elvis himself occasionally attributed it to Stephen Foster during his live performances. In an era where musical compositions were divided between ASCAP and BMI, Darby had to find a way around the rules in order to give credit to both himself and Elvis. He achieved this by registering his wife, Vera Mattson, with BMI. As a result, the song's credit reads Mattson Presley. The soundtrack also featured 3 new songs, We're Gonna Move, Per Boy, and Let Me. Though these tracks were well-crafted, they paled in comparison to the enduring popularity of Love Me Tender. The film's score was conducted by Lionel Newman, adding further depth to the musical experience. Some argue that he exploited these artists for his own gain. While others believe he played a vital role in introducing black music to mainstream America. Bobby V echoes the latter sentiment, acknowledging that Elvis and country musicians helped pave the way for rock and roll and doo-wop genres across the nation. In conclusion, the tragic end of Elvis Presley in his first film, Love Me Tender, left fans puzzled and seeking explanations for the unconventional storyline. Yet, it also provided an intriguing twist that kept audiences engaged. The film's soundtrack, composed by Ken Darby, further added to its allure despite the complicated authorship of its most famous song. And although Elvis met a sad fate in this movie, his haunting performance on the final credits left a lasting impression on those who dared venture into this unique cinematic experience.